All right, thanks you all for being here. We want to announce today the arrest of a suspect involved in the fatal crash on Monday that led to the death of police officer Adrian Morris, as well as a warrant that we've issued for a second suspect in this case. Commander Michael Straughan, who is the head of the Criminal Investigations Division, will answer your questions regarding this investigation. Commander?
Yeah, that would help. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd first like to take a moment to issue our condolences to Officer Morris's family from the entire Prince George's County Police Department. I'd like to bring you up to speed on our investigation to this point. I think the way to do that is to give you the timeline where we're at this point for our investigation. And this timeline begins on Sunday, August 19th, about 9:30 p.m. at the Exxon gas station located in the 4000 block of Powder Mill Road in Beltsville, Maryland. At this time, police responded to this Exxon gas station for a reported stolen vehicle. And during this stolen vehicle, which is described as a 2005 Acura TL, it was left running by a citizen while at the gas station parking lot when at this time an unknown suspect hopped in the vehicle and stole the vehicle. The vehicle was confirmed stolen. The officers took the report and it was entered as such in the police databases. On Monday, August 20th, the following day, at approximately noon, and we're still ironing out our exact times for these events, there is a reported theft in Montgomery County. This theft occurred in the 15,000 block of Old Columbia Pike in Burtonsville, Maryland. And what's important in this theft, this stolen vehicle is the suspect vehicle in this reported theft. Shortly thereafter this reported theft, we have our event that occurred at the Shell gas station in the 6000 block of Sandy Spring Road in Laurel, Maryland. And what occurs there is what we know now, our stolen vehicle appears in this parking lot acting suspiciously. It's occupied multiple times. They are seen trying to enter vehicles in this parking lot. This suspect vehicle leaves. The management of this gas station calls the police via 911 and reports an attempt theft that may have just occurred. When that happens, Officer Morris and Officer Risher, as required, respond to this location to investigate this 911 call. Once there, both officers meet with management, and management is describing what I just described had occurred just prior to their arrival. They're also viewing video surveillance tape for what just occurred prior to their arrival. As they're doing this, the suspect vehicle, what we know now to be this stolen 2005 Acura, returns to the parking lot. Once this happens, the reporting person, which is the management of the business, directs the officer's attention to the vehicle leaving the parking lot and actually tells the officer that's the vehicle. Once these officers hear this, they quickly respond to their police vehicle and go after the suspects in this, what we now know to be a stolen vehicle. This pursuit ends up on southbound 95, and when the crash occurs. What we know from the fatal crash, from the details of our accident reconstruction unit, from our accounts from our surviving officer, and also multiple accounts from witnesses that happen to be on the Beltway, these events occur just prior to the accident. The Acura is described in the fast lane of 95, traveling at a high rate of speed. The pursuing officer's vehicle is quite a distance behind, and in between the officer's vehicle and the suspect vehicle is normal traffic that you'd find on any given day on the Beltway. The suspect vehicle, at a high rate of speed, cuts directly across all lanes of traffic, the citizens that are traveling on the Beltway obviously make driving maneuvers, braking, changing lanes to avoid colliding with this suspect vehicle. This causes a chain reaction or a reaction which causes our pursuing officer, who is traveling in the middle lanes of the Beltway, to quickly change lanes to avoid striking another vehicle. When this maneuver is made, the officer loses control of his police cruiser and slides off the roadway. The vehicle flips several times, causing the officer, Morris, the driver of the vehicle, to be ejected and what we know now to be fatally injured from the crash. The suspect vehicle makes good his escape and continues on. Chief McGaw, at the point of this investigation, deemed the homicide detectives would get involved in this case and conduct a thorough and extensive investigation. What detectives did at that point was compile this information, take our vehicle lookouts, put it all together on the partial description of what we know now was a stolen vehicle, and our search begins to try to locate this vehicle. All resources on the Prince George's County Police Department were devoted to this task, especially our Special Enforcement Division, which at approximately 3:30 in the morning located this vehicle, which matched the description of this incident, parked unoccupied in a residential neighborhood at 50th and Drake Place in Southeast Washington, D.C. The vehicle was parked, unattended, and unoccupied. Once the vehicle was located, obviously a perimeter was set up, and we began to watch the vehicle along with our partners from the Metropolitan Police Department. I'd like to back up just a moment. The vehicle was located approximately 7 p.m. I think I initially said 3:30. Approximately 7 p.m., which is about 7 hours after our incident, the vehicle was located at this location. At approximately 3:30 a.m., while under surveillance, the vehicle became occupied by an unknown black male suspect. Once this happened, the surveillance team made an arrest of who we know now as Kenneth Mitchell, our reported suspect in the case. Kevin Mitchell was transported to the 6th District and interviewed by our homicide detectives. Through this interview and ongoing investigation, we developed what we now has as our second occupant of this vehicle, which today, after an exhaustive search for him, we're asking the public's help in locating him. His name, as you have, is Kayvon Neal. He currently has an arrest warrant for his arrest. We would like the continued public's help in trying to locate him. The charges for both Mitchell and Neal at this time are for felony theft regarding the stolen vehicle that occurred on August 19th. Our investigation is in the preliminary stages. It's 2 days old. We're continuing an exhaustive investigation. We are continued devoted to all our resources to come to a conclusion of all the events described this day. We would ask the media's help, the continued public's help, into locating Kayvon Neal, along with anyone on 95 at the time of this incident, to please come forward and help us put this event together. We've had many, many citizens come forward and report what they saw and heard, and we would ask that that continues because it's been extremely helpful in this investigation.
Is that you can charge these guys with anything related to the crash? We've had they did swerve across, witnesses have all said that. Could it be vehicular manslaughter? Could it be anything?
We will continue to pursue any and all charges that are appropriate. The charges that are in place at this time is what we have at this point. Obviously, this investigation continues, and we're in a position to pursue any and all charges that apply.
Their actions caused, can you speak to the idea that their actions caused this whole chain of events?
The investigation reveals that the actions of the suspect vehicle caused a reaction of normal citizen traffic on the Beltway, which caused an additional reaction of our pursuing officers.
Is it the case that there was never a collision or a touching of the suspect's vehicle with the police cruiser?
That currently is still under investigation and obviously is a part of the ongoing investigation.
Do you believe that the suspects knew there was a crash behind them as they continued to go on?
It's hard for me at this point to answer that. I don't know.
When they left the gas station, did they know they were being pursued?
Obviously, during the actions of the suspect vehicle, it would lead you to believe that they knew the police were behind them.
At what point were the sirens and lights on?
To speak specifically on every second of this event at this time is difficult to do.
Do you have any idea how fast the suspect or the officer was going? We've heard witnesses say something like 100 miles.
Our collision analysis unit, which is the experts on recreating a crash as this, are thoroughly pursuing estimated speeds, events, actions, and all that is still part of the investigation and exactly unknown at this point.
Mike, how would you describe the role that these suspects played? You know what I'm getting at. The role that these suspects played in the death of this officer. I know that the officer was well behind. What role did they play in the death?
These officers were doing what any police officer would do. They are doing their job, and one of our officers unfortunately lost his life doing so. I don't know any other explanation you can give to that. Our officers are trying to catch bad guys.
Can you say which of the suspects you think was behind the wheel?
We suspect at this point that Kayvon Neal was the driver, and our investigation continues into all aspects of that.
What about the surveillance tape? Is he the one in the surveillance video as well?
There is quite a bit of footage. I believe some of it has been released to the media, and all that is being analyzed.
Are there possibly any other suspects you're searching for who were in the car?
We don't have any indication at this point that there's any other occupants of the vehicle. However, that we'll continue to investigate whether or not that's a possibility. At this point, we believe these are the only two occupants of the vehicle.
Does any other crimes they might have been involved in aside from obviously the one you mentioned, the stolen car and Montgomery County incident?
Those are all under investigation. I think that our thefts at gas stations have been well documented. I know the media has covered a lot of it. So obviously, as part of our jobs as detectives, is to determine what, if any, crimes they may have occurred prior to this day or this event.
Have you been able to retrieve dash cam video from the crashed vehicle?
We were retrieving any and all evidence that we can. I can't speak on whether we've retrieved any kind of in-car camera at this point.
Was there one operating, as the best of your knowledge?
I can't comment on that part. That's being handled by our collision analysis unit, and I don't know the answer to that.
Now, you talked about how any officer would have responded this way, but I have to ask, there are guidelines the police department goes by in giving chase. Was Officer Morris supposed to give chase?
Officer Morris was doing his job. In my opinion, he was trying to catch a criminal. And our pursuit policy is well documented. All that obviously will be part of an administrative investigation. But Officer Morris and Officer Risher were doing what any police officer would do. We all join the police department, become police officers, to do two things: help our community and catch bad guys. That's what they're doing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
One final point: when you get this packet at the end, you'll note that on the Crime Solvers flyer, the Chief of Police has authorized up to a $25,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in this auto theft. This is an unusual step, as you'll note. That figure is typically reserved for homicide suspects, but the Chief of Police felt that with the death of Officer Morris, that this was warranted in this case. Thank you very much.